So what should we make of this surge in growth for non-GMO crops? And is this just a luxury for countries that can afford to choose? Joining us from Los Angeles is Phil Lempert. He's a food marketing expert and founded supermarketguru.com. Phil, we know global sales of non-GMO foods are growing. This whole debate must sound strange to people living in poverty, obviously, who are literally dying because they can't get any kind of food. So what do you make of this whole thing?
Well, Mike, what you're bringing up is probably the most important. We've got to remember what biotech is all about. It's adding different traits to different genetic makeup of different crops in order for them to grow under inclement weather, have more health attributes, be less expensive to grow. So we've got really a debate that's a science debate. We also have the human debate. And here in the U.S., the bottom line is it's all about whether or not the GMOs should be labeled. Now, keep in mind, if you're certified organic, that means automatically no GMO. And organics have gone up to about $420 million in sales. I'm sorry, $42 billion in sales last year versus that $200 billion that you talked about with non-GMO. There's also the non-GMO project. You saw that on the label before. Very strict standards. But we really have both sides where you've got the food companies battling with a lot of other groups who are saying, we want the right to know, and we want the federal government or the state government to get involved and put labels on whether or not this contains GMO ingredients.
One of the leading advocates for this labeling movement is the actress Gwyneth Paltrow. Let's listen to what she has to say, and I want to get your reaction afterwards. Let's listen in.
The science is still inconclusive about GMOs, and there are arguments that they could possibly be harmful, and there are arguments that they could possibly be incredibly beneficial and drought resistant and have extra nutrition. But at this point, we just don't know.
First of all, how do you think she's framing the argument? I mean, do you agree with her? And then also, what's driving the surge in sales for non-GMO foods or goods, would you say?
Well, number one, I agree with what she's saying. It's inconclusive. We just don't know. Now, on the science side, they're saying GMOs have been in the marketplace 20, 25 years. You know, nothing has happened to the human condition. Other people are saying that's not a long time. We really need to figure out a little bit more time whether or not there is going to be effect. What's driving it? Very simply, your guest before said it. The millennial generation who wake up in the morning, never want to eat the same thing twice in their lifetime, want to know the name of the chicken that had the feed. They just want to know everything about food. They've got passion for food, but also keep in mind they're not able to afford food because they have poor paying jobs. A lot of them are still living at home. So what they're looking for is not necessarily organic, but reasonably priced products that are non-GMO.
Let me ask you, you know, Jessica talked about the statistics. She mentioned in her story there's some 2,000 new non-GMO products launched each year in the United States. Are these really new products, or is this just, as we like to call here in the United States, a case of branding, or just basically repackaging old ones?
Well, it's a combination of a lot of things. Some new products. Also, keep in mind that last year about 21,000 new food or beverage products were introduced. So we're talking about 10% of the whole. So it could have been a reformulation. It could have been a product that was never a GMO that now has a label on it, or it could be a brand new product. We just don't know, which is why it's critical for every consumer to read those ingredients, to read the nutritional label, to really look at that product carefully so we know what we're buying.
I know these young people want to know the name of the chicken, as you mentioned. So what's the end game? I mean, do you see this growth just continuing to just keep going up?
I do. I believe, and I think that now that the numbers are significant, again, as you pointed out before, 10% of the world's food supply is non-GMO. That's huge when we really think across the globe. So I think we are going to see, now that the numbers are proving it, more growth in non-GMO. Whether or not the states and the federal government here in the U.S. are going to make some agreement, I would doubt that. I really think that the non-GMO project is the one that's going to win. And also, frankly, I'm shocked that the Organic Trade Association hasn't done a better job of informing people that if it has USDA certified organic, it's non-GMO. So what are we talking about? Even more labels that could be confusing to people.
Well, perhaps they're watching you right now and getting to work on that as we speak. Phil, thanks so much for joining us from Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mike.